Rain hammered the windshield of Officer Jack Harlan's cruiser like it was trying to break through, each drop a reminder of the storm raging inside him after another 12-hour shift chasing shadows in the underbelly of Chicago. He spotted the sedan pulled over on the shoulder of I-94, hazard lights flickering weakly against the midnight downpour, and something twisted in his gut. A lone figure inside, slumped over the wheel, body convulsing with sobs that fogged the glass. Jack killed the engine, his boots splashing through puddles as he approached, hand instinctively on his holster, but the sight through the window stopped him cold. A crumpled note pinned under the visor, its ink bleeding like an open wound. Jack rapped his knuckles on the driver's window, the sound sharp and authoritative, cutting through the man's anguish like a knife. The guy jerked upright, wiping his face with a sleeve soaked in tears and rain, his eyes, dark, haunted pools, locking onto Jack's with a mix of fear and defiance that hit harder than any suspect's glare Jack had ever faced. "You all right there?" Jack asked, his voice gruff from years of barking orders, but softer than he intended, laced with an unfamiliar crack. The man nodded too quickly, muttering something about a flat tire, but his gaze darted to the dashboard, to that note, and Jack followed it, squinting through the streaks of water. The paper was simple, yellowed legal pad stock, but the words scrawled in hasty black marker screamed volumes. "If you're reading this, I couldn't stay. But remember, love isn't a choice. It's the only truth that survives the lies we tell ourselves. Forgive me, Eli." Jack's breath caught. Eli? That wasn't the name on the guy's wallet when Jack had glimpsed it earlier. No, this was Alex Rivera, 32, address in Boys Town, the city's pulsing heart of rainbow flags and whispered secrets. Jack had patrolled those streets enough to know the undercurrents, the stares that lingered too long, the fights born from words sharper than bullets. But this note wasn't a confession. It was a grenade with the pin half pulled. "Sir, step out of the vehicle," Jack said, not because protocol demanded it, but because the air inside that car felt too thick, too charged with whatever ghost haunted Alex's eyes. Alex complied slowly, unfolding his lanky frame from the seat, rain plastering his dark curls to his forehead, his button-down shirt clinging like a second skin. Up close, he was striking, high cheekbones shadowed by stubble, lips pressed thin against the tremor Jack could feel radiating off him. "It's just everything," Alex whispered, voice breaking as he glanced back at the note. He left it for his brother, but it's mine now. Eli was. He was everything. Jack's radio crackled to life, dispatch checking in, but he muted it, the world narrowing to this stretch of highway and the man unraveling before him. He'd seen heartbreak before, wives fleeing abusive homes, kids orphaned by overdoses, but this was different, raw, laced with the kind of shame society slapped on like a brand. Jack wasn't blind to the precinct whispers, the jokes that landed like punches about those types in Boys Town, but he'd always shrugged them off, buried his own unease under layers of duty and denial. "Who's Eli?" He pressed, gentler now, his tough exterior, the one forged in foster homes and beat cop brawls, starting to chip. Alex leaned against the car, the rain mixing with fresh tears, and the story spilled out in fragments, jagged as broken glass. Eli had been his partner for 5 years, a graphic designer with a laugh that lit up dive bars and a quiet strength that held Alex through the nights when his conservative family back in rural Indiana pretended he didn't exist. They'd built a life in a walk-up apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, complete with mismatched mugs and weekend brunches at cafes where same-sex couples weren't the exception. But Eli's diagnosis, late-stage lymphoma, had rewritten everything. Chemo, hospital vigils, the slow erosion of hope until Eli, ever the protector, had slipped away 6 months ago, leaving Alex adrift in a sea of medical bills and empty closets. The note. He wrote it before the end, Alex said, voice barely audible over the storm. For his little brother, Jamie, who's still in the closet, scared shitless. Eli wanted him to know it's okay to love who you love. But now Jamie's gone radio silent, and I was driving to Indiana to find him, to deliver it in person. Thought maybe I could save someone from what Eli couldn't save himself from. Jack listened, the weight of it settling in his chest like lead. He'd lost his own brother to the streets years back. Overdose, they said, But this was loss amplified by judgment, by a world that deemed certain loves invalid. Jack pulled a flashlight from his belt, not to search the car, but to illuminate the note properly, holding it steady as Alex's fingers brushed his in the handover. The touch was electric, unintended, sending a jolt through Jack that he chalked up to the cold. "You can't drive like this," he said finally, practicality overriding the turmoil. "It's a hazard. Let me call a tow." Alex shook his head, stubborn fire flickering back. "I have to go. Jamie needs this." And in that moment, Jack saw himself reflected. Not the badge, not the bravado, but the kid who'd once hidden bruises under long sleeves, yearning for someone to see the truth beneath. The tow truck arrived 20 minutes later, its lights cutting swaths through the darkness. But by then, Jack had made a decision that scared him more than any gang takedown. "I'll drive you," he offered, keys jingling in his pocket. "Off duty now. Consider it community service." Alex eyed him warily, the cop and the civilian worlds colliding, but exhaustion won out. They piled into Jack's cruiser, the note tucked safely in Alex's jacket, and as the miles blurred toward Indiana, conversation ebbed into silences heavy with unspoken histories. Jack kept his eyes on the road, but his mind wandered to the precinct, to Sergeant Reyes, his mentor who'd pulled him from juvie scraps into the academy, only to drop hints about staying sharp around those Boys Town calls. Jack had laughed it off, but now, with Alex's quiet presence beside him, those words festered. Alex, sensing the tension, broke the ice. "You don't strike me as the type to play chauffeur for strangers." Jack grunted. "And you don't strike me as the type to break down on interstates. Life's full of surprises." Alex chuckled, a sound like cracking ice, and for the first time that night, Jack felt the storm inside him ease, just a fraction. Dawn crept over the horizon as they crossed the state line, the flatlands of Indiana unfolding like a faded postcard. Alex directed them to a small town called Harlan's Bend, irony not lost on Jack, and pulled up to a modest ranch house on Elm Street, its curtains drawn tight against the world. "Jamie's place," Alex explained. "Eli's parents disowned him years ago, but Jamie, he's the last thread." Jack parked, engine idling, but as Alex moved to exit, a figure burst from the house, a young woman, mid-20s, with Eli's same sharp jawline but softer eyes, hair cropped short and dyed electric blue. "You must be Alex," she said, voice steady but laced with urgency. "I'm Lena, Jamie's friend. He's inside, but it's bad." Lena led them through the door into a living room cluttered with takeout boxes and dog-eared, queer-lit paperbacks, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and desperation. Jamie sat on the couch, knees drawn up, a blanket draped over his shoulders like armor, his face pale and streaked with the remnants of tears. He was 20, maybe, with Eli's curls but none of his fire, eyes darting like a cornered animal. "You came," he whispered, spotting the note in Alex's hand. "I thought, after what Mom said." His voice trailed off, and Jack hung back by the door, feeling like an intruder in this fragile tableau of grief and secrets. Alex knelt before him, unfolding the note with reverence, reading it aloud in a voice that trembled but held firm. The words washed over the room, a balm and a blade. Forgiveness for the unlived life, a plea to embrace the love that society scorned. Jamie sobbed then, raw and unfiltered, clutching the paper as Lena wrapped an arm around him, her touch protective, intimate. Jack watched, piecing it together. Lena wasn't just a friend. The way her hand lingered on Jamie's knee spoke volumes, a quiet alliance against the isolation. It stirred something in Jack, a recognition of barriers he'd built high, walls against vulnerabilities he couldn't name. As the morning wore on, coffee brewed and stories shared, Jack found himself drawn in, offering gruff reassurances about resources, hotlines, support groups he'd cited in reports but never truly understood. Jamie opened up haltingly, about the church youth group that preached fire and brimstone, about the crush on his best friend that ended in a fistfight and a fractured family. "Eli tried to warn me," he said. "Said love like ours is a revolution, not a sin. But when he got sick, Mom called it karma." The bitterness in his voice mirrored Alex's earlier pain, and Jack, unbidden, shared a sliver of his own. The brother lost to addiction, the foster dad who equated weakness with deviance. By noon, the group had coalesced into something tentative, a makeshift family forged in loss. Lena, it turned out, was trans, her transition a battle won through sheer will and Jamie's unwavering support. Their bond a testament to love's quiet rebellions. We met at a pride rally in Indy, she explained, her smile fierce. He held my hand when no one else would. Jack nodded, absorbing it all, his cop's skepticism yielding to empathy he hadn't known he possessed. But as they planned next steps, therapy for Jamie, a memorial for Eli, his radio buzzed again, reality intruding. Harlan, where the hell are you? Dispatch's voice crackled, laced with concern. Jack stepped outside, promising Alex he'd check in, but as he drove back toward Chicago, the note's words echoed, "Love isn't a choice." That night, in his sparse apartment overlooking the L tracks, Jack pulled out an old photo from a drawer. Him and his brother at 15, arms slung around each other, grins wide before the world pulled them apart. He'd always told himself it was grief that hardened him, but now he wondered if it was fear of truths that didn't fit the badge's rigid lines. Days blurred into a routine fractured by memory. At the precinct, Jack threw himself into cases, a string of hate crimes targeting Boys Town bars, graffiti slurs, and shattered windows that the brass dismissed as kids being kids. But Jack couldn't. Alex's face haunted him, the way vulnerability had cracked open something in both of them. On impulse, he drove by Alex's apartment one evening, the building's facade lit by string lights from a neighbor's balcony party. Alex answered the buzzer, surprise softening his features. "Officer Harlan, to what do I owe the pleasure?" "Jack," he corrected, stepping inside to the scent of marinara simmering on the stove. "Heard about another incident at Sidetrack. Thought you might need backup." It was a lie, thinly veiled, but Alex saw through it, offering a beer and a seat at the kitchen table scarred by years of shared meals. They talked, not about Eli, not yet, but about the city, its veins pulsing with stories untold. Alex was a teacher at a community center, guiding queer youth through art therapy, turning pain into canvases of color. "It's not saving the world," he said modestly, "but it's saving pieces of it." Jack listened, beer untouched, as Alex sketched a quick portrait on a napkin. Jack's profile, all hard lines and shadowed eyes. "You hide it well," Alex murmured. "The softness." The word landed like a spark on dry tinder, and Jack pulled back, excuses tumbling out about shifts and reports. But in the hallway, keys in hand, he paused. "That note. It's not just for Jamie, is it?" Alex's eyes met his, steady. "It's for anyone who's ever felt like loving means losing." The hate crimes escalated the next week, a Molotov through a cafe window where Lena and Jamie had their first real date. Jack was first on scene, flames licking the night, his heart pounding as he dragged a barista to safety. In the chaos, he spotted Alex across the street, face ashen, phone pressed to his ear, calling Jamie. He later learned, to ensure they were safe. Their eyes met over the sirens, a silent tether forming amid the smoke. Later, at the hospital, bandaging minor burns, Jack found Alex in the waiting room, head in hands. "This city's eating us alive," Alex said. "One fire at a time." Jack sat beside him, the vinyl chairs creaking under his weight. "Not if we fight back." It was bravado, but real, born from the note's lingering echo. They started small, Jack connecting Alex with a detective friend specializing in bias crimes. Alex inviting Jack to a vigil at the center. There, under banners of solidarity, Jack met the mosaic of lives intertwined. Trans elders sharing war stories, by couples navigating fluid identities, lesbian activists plotting legal pushes against discriminatory landlords. It was a world Jack had policed from afar, now pulling him in like gravity. But cracks appeared. At the precinct, whispers turned to confrontations, Reyes pulling him aside after a report. "Harlan, you're spending too much time with that crowd. Makes folks uneasy." Jack bristled, badge burning against his chest. "Uneasy about justice, Sarge? Or something else?" The words hung, a gauntlet thrown, and Reyes's face tightened, old prejudices surfacing. That night, Jack confronted his reflection, fists clenched against the mirror. Was this empathy, or something deeper, a questioning he'd buried under duty? The turning point came unannounced. A call from Lena in the dead of night. Jamie's missing. He left a note. Said he's done hiding, but we think he went to confront his parents. Panic surged through Jack as he roused Alex. The two of them piling into the cruiser, racing south on empty roads. Indiana loomed again, but this time with stakes sharpened to lethality. They arrived at the Harlan's Bend Church, its steeple a sentinel in the fog, to find Jamie on the steps, face bruised, Bible clutched like a shield. They said, "I'm damned," he choked out. "But Eli," he said, "love redeems." Inside the parsonage, the confrontation unfolded like a storm. Eli's parents, faces etched with righteous fury, hurled accusations, abomination, curse, until Alex thrust forward the original note. Eli's handwriting, a ghost demanding audience. "Read it," Alex demanded, voice steel. "Your son wrote this for Jamie, not to condemn, but to free." The room fractured then, the mother's sobs mingling with the father's stunned silence, prejudices crumbling under the weight of paternal love immortalized on paper. Jamie collapsed into Lena's arms, the four of them, survivors all, a bulwark against the tide. As dawn broke, Jack drove them back, the car heavy with exhaustion and fragile hope. Alex's hand found his on the gearshift, a touch that lingered, questioning. "You didn't have to come," Alex said softly. Jack swallowed, the truth bubbling up. "Yeah, I did. That note. It broke something in me too." In the rear view, Jamie and Lena slept entwined, their love a quiet victory. For Jack, the road ahead twisted, full of uncertainties, but for the first time, he welcomed the turns. Weeks later, the vigil swelled into a march, banners waving under Chicago's relentless sun. Jack stood at the front, badge gleaming, Alex beside him, their shoulders brushing in silent solidarity. The note, photocopied and shared, had become a talisman, passed hand to hand among those who'd lost and loved fiercely. Reyes even showed grudging respect in his nod, the precinct shifting ever so slightly. But Jack knew change was seismic, not swift, built on moments like this, where tears in a car led to revolutions of the heart. Yet shadows lingered. An anonymous tip led Jack to a ring of perpetrators behind the arsons, local vigilantes cloaked in piety, their leader a former cop with a grudge against the agenda. The raid was textbook, Dawn warrants, tactical entry, cuffs clicking on wrists that mirrored Jack's own once upon a time. In interrogation, the leader sneered, "You're one of them now, Harlan? Traitor." Jack leaned in, voice low. "Nah, just a guy who read a note and remembered what humanity looks like." Alex waited outside the station, coffee in hand, his presence an anchor. "Hero of the hour," he teased, but his eyes held deeper questions. They walked the lakefront, wind whipping off the water, and Jack finally voiced it. "I've been lying to myself, Alex. About everything." The confession hung, vulnerable, but Alex's smile was gentle. "Then stop. Love's not a choice, remember?" Their hands intertwined, tentative, the first step across a chasm Jack hadn't admitted existed. The story didn't end there. No tidy bows on fractured lives. Jamie enrolled in art school, Lena advocated for trans rights in City Hall, their partnership a beacon. Eli's family, slowly, tentatively, reached out, apologies scrawled in shaky script. For Jack and Alex, it was courtship in fragments, coffees turning to dinners, shared silences blooming into laughter. Conflicts arose, Jack's long hours clashing with Alex's empathy-fueled crusades, old wounds reopening under societal scrutiny. A precinct party turned ugly when a colleague's slur cut too deep, forcing Jack to choose, punch or walk. He walked, badge in pocket, finding Alex at the center, painting murals with kids who saw rainbows as normal. The climax built subtly, then erupted. A leaked video, Jack and Alex at the march, hands linked, went viral, igniting backlash. Death threats scrawled on Jack's door, protests at the precinct demanding his resignation. Blue lives matter, not rainbow ones, the chants went. Jack stood firm, but doubt crept in, nights spent staring at the ceiling, badge heavy on the nightstand. Alex, sensing the fracture, confronted him. "You can't save everyone if you lose yourself." The argument escalated, words like daggers, Jack accusing Alex of naivety, Alex calling out Jack's fear. Doors slammed, Silence stretched. In the aftermath, Jack drove aimlessly, ending up at that same highway pull-off, rain sheeting down like the night they met. He pulled out his phone, dialing the number he'd memorized but never used. A hotline for cops questioning their sexuality, a resource Alex had slipped him months back. The voice on the line was kind, anonymous, and for the first time, Jack admitted it. The brother he'd lost wasn't just to drugs, but to a love unaccepted, a secret that mirrored his own buried longings. Tears came, hot and unbidden, the tough exterior shattering like the notes ink in rain. He found Alex at the lake, skipping stones into the waves, face turned to the horizon. "I'm sorry," Jack said, voice raw, "for pushing away what scares me." Alex turned, eyes searching, and Jack stepped closer, the space between them electric. "And I'm in love with you. I've been since that damn note." The kiss that followed was tentative, then fierce, a seal on promises unspoken, emotions cresting like the tide. Resolution came in waves. The threats ebbed with arrests, the video reframed as inspiration by allies online. Jack returned to duty, out and unapologetic, training sessions now including sensitivity modules he'd championed. Alex's center expanded, funded by donors moved by their story, the note's legacy multiplying. Jamie and Lena visited, their wedding a small affair by the lake, rings exchanged under a sky bruised with sunset. Eli's spirit lingered in toasts, in laughter that drowned out old pains. Years later, Jack would look back on that rainy night as the pivot, the moment a dashboard confession rewrote fates. Love, he'd learned, wasn't linear, full of misunderstandings cleared in quiet talks, prejudices toppled by persistent truth, discriminations met with unyielding solidarity. It was messy, profound, a drama of the soul where every twist led deeper into light. And in Alex's arms, under Chicago's endless stars, Jack knew. Some exteriors were meant to break, revealing the heart beneath. But the heart beneath carried scars, faint lines from battles fought in silence, and Jack traced them now in the quiet of their shared apartment, the one with views of the city lights that never quite slept. It had been 6 months since the wedding toast, since he'd traded his solitary bachelor pad for this space alive with Alex's sketches pinned to walls and half-read novels stacked like sentinels. Yet peace was elusive, a bird that fluttered just out of reach, especially on nights like this when the precinct's undercurrents bubbled to the surface. It started with a case file on his desk, innocuous at first, vandalism at a trans support group in Wicker Park, slurs spray-painted in dripping red. Jack dove in, methodically canvassing witnesses, but the lead pointed to a ghost from his past, Tommy Voss, academy classmate who'd washed out after a psych eval flagged anger issues. Tommy, now a security guard with a chip on his shoulder the size of Lake Michigan, had been overheard at a bar griping about the freaks taking over. Jack's gut twisted. They'd been tight once, brothers in arms trading war stories over cheap beer, until Tommy's worldview soured, laced with the same toxic rhetoric that had cost Jack his own brother. Confronting Tommy meant dredging up history Jack preferred buried. He met him in a dingy diner off Halstead, the kind with Formica counters scarred by cigarettes long banned. Tommy slid into the booth, burly frame dwarfing the seat, his laugh booming but eyes hard. "Harlan, you son of a bitch. Heard you went full Rainbow Warrior. What's next? Glitter on the badge." Jack forced a grin, ordering coffees black. "Cut the crap, Tom. The tag's on that center. Your handiwork." Tommy's face darkened, fork pausing midair. "Kids being kids, like always. You gonna arrest me for words now?" The conversation devolved, old wounds reopening. Tommy railing against agendas eroding real America. Jack countering with stories of lives saved, not threatened. "You sound like my old man," Jack said, voice low. "The one who beat secrets out of boys till they broke." Tommy flinched, the barb landing true. They'd both grown up in homes where affection was rationed, where difference was deviance. Maybe he was right, Tommy muttered. World's gone soft. But as Jack left, slipping a card for counseling into Tommy's pocket, he saw the flicker, doubt, perhaps, or the first crack in armor not unlike his own. Alex noticed the tension that evening, dinner cooling untouched on plates. "Rough day?" he asked, hand on Jack's shoulder, thumb tracing the knot there. Jack exhaled, recounting the meat, the undercurrent of unresolved rage. He's not evil, Alex. Just lost, like I was. Alex's eyes softened, pulling Jack to the couch, their legs tangling in easy familiarity. Then help him find his way. That's what you do, see the human under the hate. It was advice Jack took to heart, but implementation brought its own storms. The next lead unraveled a thread pulling at Jamie and Lena's fragile new life. Tommy's crew included a hothead named Derek, who targeted the couple's favorite coffee shop after spotting their pride stickers on a laptop. A tip from an undercover by led Jack to a warehouse on the south side, the air thick with the tang of spray paint and bravado. He went in alone, protocol be damned, flashlight cutting shadows, heart hammering. Derek spun, can in hand, eyes widening at the badge. Harlan? Shit, you're one of them. The slur hung, but Jack held steady. Put it down, kid. This ends now. Derek lunged, wild and desperate, but Jack sidestepped, cuffing him with practiced ease. In the squad car, the kid cracked, spilling about Tommy's rants, about his own confusion, crushes on guys he shoved down with fists and fury. It's easier to hate what you fear, he admitted, voice small. Jack nodded, seeing echoes of his younger self. Fear's a liar. But truth? It sets you free. Dropping Derek at juvie, Jack felt the weight lift slightly, but the real confrontation loomed with Tommy. It exploded at a precinct barbecue, smoke curling from grills laden with brats and burgers, laughter masking the underbelly. Tommy cornered Jack by the coolers, breath hot with beer. You turned that punk? Against me? Fists flew then, Tommy's haymaker glancing Jack's jaw, Jack's counter dropping him to the grass. Whistles blew, colleagues pulling them apart, but the damage was done. Whispers of Harlan's gone soft, mingling with reluctant cheers for his restraint. Reyes mediated, face grim. Settle this, or I settle it for you. The sit-down was raw, in Reyes's office with its walls papered in commendations. Tommy slouched, bruise blooming on his cheek. Why, Jack? We were us against them. Jack leaned forward, voice steady. Because them are us, Tom. My brother's grave? Etched with the same hate you spew. And the man I love? He's shown me mercy you could learn from. Tommy's eyes welled, the tough guy facade crumbling. I kissed a guy once. In the academy showers. Freaked me out. The confession hung, a bridge extended. Jack clasped his shoulder. Then build on it. Or burn alone. Tommy turned informant, dismantling the ring from within, charges sticking like glue. The center reopened, murals brighter, and Lena baked Jack a pie in thanks. Cherry, tart, and sweet. But victory soured when anonymous letters arrived at the apartment. Photocopies of the old note twisted with vitriol. Love like this ends in fire. Jack burned them in the sink, flames dancing like accusations, but Alex saw the fear. We're not hiding, he said firmly. Not anymore. Their first real test came at Pride, the city awash in color, float's thumping bass that vibrated through bones. Jack marched in uniform, Alex's hand in his, the crowd a sea of acceptance. But midway, a counter-protest erupted, signs spewing bile, bottles sailing. Chaos reigned, Jack shielding Alex as shoves turned to scuffles. A rock clipped his temple, blood warm on his skin, but he held the line, badge a shield for the vulnerable. Medics patched him later, Alex's hands trembling as he dabbed antiseptic. You could have been hurt worse. Jack cupped his face. Worth it. Every time. In the quiet after, they wandered Grant Park, fireworks bursting overhead like defiant stars. Remember the highway? Alex asked. Jack nodded, pulling him close. How could I forget? You cried. I cracked, and here we are. Laughter bubbled, lightening the load. But Jack knew storms brewed eternal. Society's prejudice is a hydra, heads regrowing. Yet with Alex, the fight felt shared, love a weapon sharper than any blade. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting sidewalks in crimson, and new conflicts stirred. Jamie, thriving in school, announced a gallery show, pieces inspired by Eli's note, raw explorations of identity. Invites went out, including to Eli's parents, a olive branch extended. They came, hesitant, faces lined with regret, and the air thickened as Jamie unveiled the centerpiece. A sculpture of intertwined hands, forged from scrap metal, the the note's words etched in gold. "This is for you," he said, voice steady. "To remember him as he was, loving, without apology." Tears flowed, embraces awkward but real, the first mending of a rift carved deep. Jack watched from the sidelines, Alex's arm around his waist, pride swelling. But outside, in the alley, a figure lurked. Tommy, sober now, months into therapy, eyes clear. "Heard about the show," he said gruffly. "Wanted to apologize for everything." Jack nodded. No words needed, the past folding into forgiveness. "Join us sometime," he offered. Tommy's smile was tentative. "Maybe." Winter gripped Chicago, winds howling off the lake like banshees, and tension peaked when Reyes announced retirement, the captain's slot opening. Whispers swirled, Jack in the running, but old guard resistance stiff. Too woke, they muttered in break rooms. Jack threw his hat in anyway. Campaign built on reform. Bias training mandatory, community liaisons with queer centers. Alex rallied support, flyers distributed at vigils, but backlash bit hard. A leaked memo painting Jack as compromised. The hearing was a circus, brass grilling him on loyalty, on whether personal entanglements clouded judgment. Jack stood tall, voice unwavering. "My entanglements make me better, eyes open to pains I once ignored." Alex testified, eloquent on the note's impact, on lives intertwined across divides. The vote swung narrow, Jack promoted, the precinct a microcosm of the city's slow thaw. Celebration that night was intimate. Candlelight, wine, promises whispered in the dark. But joy fractured when Alex collapsed at the center, exhaustion from overwork, tests revealing burnout's toll, adrenal fatigue, doc said, prescribing rest. Jack became nurse, hovering, guilt gnawing. "I pushed you into this fight," he confessed one snowy evening, bundled on the balcony. Alex shook his head, breath fogging the air. "We chose it together, and I'd choose it again, for us, for them." Healing came slow, walks in the snow building strength, conversations delving deeper into fears unspoken. Spring bloomed defiant, cherry blossoms defiant against late frosts, and a surprise arrived. Lena pregnant, via donor, their family expanding. The baby shower was a riot of color, Jamie toasting to new beginnings echoing old loves. Jack, holding Alex's hand under the table, felt the future palpitate, talks of adoption, of rings exchanged in quiet ceremony. But before vows, a final twist. Tommy, clean a year, came out at a support group Jack facilitated, the room erupting in applause. "That note you told me about," he said later. "It saved me too." Summer sweltered, the lake a shimmering tease, and Jack proposed on that highway shoulder, knee in gravel, ring simple silver. Alex said yes with tears, the circle complete, from breakdown to breakthrough, love's drama unfolding in endless acts. The engagement ring caught the sunlight like a promise as Jack and Alex navigated the farmer's market on a sticky July morning, baskets brimming with heirloom tomatoes and fresh basil, the air alive with vendors' calls and laughter. Chicago's north side buzzed with weekend energy, rainbow pins glinting on lapels, a reminder that this slice of the world celebrated what others condemned. But beneath the joy, Jack felt the undercurrent. A case simmering at the precinct, whispers of a serial harasser targeting queer couples, love notes twisted into threats delivered via app, anonymous and insidious. It hit close when Alex's phone pinged during lunch, a message popping up. "Your cop boyfriend can't protect fairy tales forever." Eli's note was a lie. "Love like yours ends in ashes." Jack's fork clattered, face hardening as he snatched the device. "Trackable." Alex nodded, pale but composed. "VPN masked, but the center's IT guy can try." They reported it immediately, Jack pulling strings for cyber forensics, but the knot in his stomach tightened. This wasn't random. It knew their story, the note's intimacy, turning salvation into a weapon. Nights grew restless, Jack patrolling shadows in his mind. Gun safe, but instincts sharp. Alex, ever the anchor, insisted on normalcy. Date nights at jazz clubs, where saxophones wailed like unburdened souls. One evening, mid-set, another ping. A photo of them entering the club, time-stamped minutes ago. Panic flared, Jack ushering Alex out a side door, cruiser screaming toward the venue. No suspect, but the message lingered. Running won't save you. The investigation consumed Jack, hours poring over digital trails with a task force that included a sharp-witted analyst named Riley, non-binary and unflinching, their pronouns pinned to every badge. Patterns point to insider knowledge, Riley said, screens glowing blue. Someone from the community, maybe, access to the vigil lists. Paranoia seeped in, trust fracturing like thin ice. At a center workshop, Jack scanned faces, wondering who wore masks beneath smiles. Alex pulled him aside. This poison, don't let it taint us. But taint it did. Arguments sparked over precautions. Jack wanting locks changed, Alex decrying fortresses. We're not victims, he snapped one night, voice echoing in the kitchen. We're fighters. Jack reeled, the ring on Alex's finger a reminder of stakes. Fighters get hurt. I can't lose you like. He trailed off, Eli's shadow looming. Reconciliation came in apologies and embraces, but the harasser struck again, Jamie's gallery defaced. Abomination scrawled over Eli's sculpture. Lena called sobbing, Jamie catatonic, the family fracturing anew. Jack mobilized, canvassing the art district, uniforms swarming. A break came from Tommy, now a reluctant CI, tipping off a burner phone trace to a disgruntled ex-volunteer at the center. Marcus, a bitter artist rejected for funding, harboring grudge against the Golden Boys, like Alex. The sting op was textbook. Decoy profile baiting messages, SWAT breaching Marcus's walk-up cluttered with hate zines and printouts of their viral video. Cuffed and snarling, Marcus spat. You parade your deviance. Eli deserved his end. Karma for choices. The words ignited Jack, fists clenching, but Riley pulled him back. Not like this. Court was swift, restraining orders and therapy mandated. But the echo lingered, a reminder that acceptance was patchwork, not seamless. Alex testified, voice steady. Threats like his thrive in silence. We speak louder. The judge nodded, sentence handed down, but healing required more. Group sessions where Jamie reclaimed his art, Lena channeled rage into advocacy blogs. Fall returned, cooler, and with it, wedding plans, a small affair at the Lakeside Pavilion, guests a tapestry of allies. Reyes officiating, gruff but proud. Riley DJing with eclectic beats. Tommy toasting awkwardly, redemption arc in full. Vows exchanged under autumn oaks. Jack's, I do, a vow not just to Alex, but to the life they'd carved from chaos. Through misunderstandings and storms, he said, ring sliding home. Alex's response. And every twist that brings us closer. Honeymoon was a cabin in the up, Michigan's woods whispering secrets, no signals, just them. Fires crackled, stories shared. Jack opening about foster horrors, the brother who taught him to fish before hate taught him to hide. Alex confessed doubts, the nights post-Eli when despair whispered surrender. You pulled me back, he said, heads together. That night on the highway, you saw me. Intimacy deepened, emotional bridges built, love's drama shifting from conflict to quiet crescendo. Back in the city, new challenges arose. Promotion brought bureaucracy, Jack pushing for queer liaison programs, facing boardroom battles with suits who cited optics. Allies emerged, a trans councilwoman, fierce and funding savvy, by parents from the center, testimonials in hand. Victories small, pilot trainings, partnerships forged. But personal tides turned when Lena gave birth, a girl named Alara, tiny fists waving like flags of hope. Godparents Jack and Alex, cradling her, felt legacy's weight. Eli's note passed down in lullabies. Winter holidays tested resolve. Eli's anniversary, a ghost at the table. They visited the grave, snow blanketing the stone, Jamie reading the note aloud, voice breaking on truth that survives. Tears froze on cheeks, but catharsis followed. Home to Coco and carols, family expanded. Yet a call shattered Yuletide. Reyes, post-retirement, hospitalized, stroke, sudden. Jack at bedside, holding the old man's hand, heard confessions. I was wrong about you, kid. About all of it. My son. He's like you, hit it till it broke him. Reyes recovered, slow, and Jack facilitated family talks, his own story a blueprint. Spring thawed more than ice. Reyes advocating from his porch. letters to brass echoing Jack's reforms. But tension peaked when a national bill loomed, anti-LGBTQ writers threatening funding for centers like Alex's. Protests erupted, Jack Online's balancing duty and heart, tear gas canisters hissing. Alex chained to doors, arrested peacefully, Jack negotiating release, the badge a double-edged sword. Bail hearing was media frenzy, cameras flashing, but Alex's statement cut through. This isn't about one law. It's about every note left behind, every love deemed invalid. Charges dropped, bill stalled, momentum shifting. Summer festivals pulsed with triumph, pride larger, Jack keynoting. From a dashboard confession to this stage, love wins when we fight together. Yet twists lingered. Tommy relapsed, old demons clawing, a bar fight landing him and holding. Jack bailed him, drive home heavy. Why bother? Tommy slurred. I'm poison. Jack pulled over, eyes fierce. Because redemption's messy. Like us. Sober House followed, sponsorship from Jack, bonds reforged in AA meetings. Fall deepened, Ilara's first steps a milestone, family gatherings laughter-laced. But a letter arrived, Eli's parents, inviting all to a memorial garden they'd planted, roses red as redemption. Hesitant, they went, soil turned under hands, plaque unveiled. Eli, lover of truths unchosen. Forgiveness flowed, not total, but enough. Hugs lingering, stories shared. Winter closed the year, snow soft, and Jack reflected by the fire, Alex asleep beside. From tears in a car to this hearth's glow, life's plot had twisted wildly. Conflicts birthed growth, prejudices peeled like onions, emotions the true north. Love, he knew, was the ultimate drama, suspenseful, profound, eternally unfolding. New Year's dawn painted the skyline in gold as Jack and Alex toasted with mimosas on their balcony, the city below a canvas of resolutions half-kept. 2 years married, their rhythm was a dance learned through stumbles, mornings with coffee and crosswords, evenings debating case ethics over takeout. But 2028 brought ripples. The precinct's first openly queer captain appointed, Jack's protege Riley, their vision aligning with his reforms. Celebration beers at the local turned somber when news broke. A wave of copycat harassments in neighboring states, emboldened by election rhetoric painting LGBT lives as threats to family values. Jack felt the chill, cases flooding his desk, families doxxed, couples fleeing safe houses. Alex's center became a bunker, workshops on digital safety packed. It's like Eli's era all over, Alex said one night, voice edged with fatigue. Backsliding. Jack pulled him close, heartbeat sinking. Then we push forward. Together. Strategy sessions ensued, Jack linking with national orgs, Alex training advocates. But proximity bred friction, Jack's overtime clashing with Alex's late-night calls from scared youth. The breaking point came mid-February, a blizzard blanketing the city, when a teen from the center, 17, trans, named Mia, went missing after a family intervention gone wrong. Alex mobilized search parties, Jack pulling all-nighters coordinating with state police. Days blurred, worry etching lines on faces, until a tip led to a bus station in Gary. Mia huddled in a Greyhound terminal, backpack clutched like armor. They prayed over me, she whispered in the cruiser. Exorcism. Said I was possessed. Rage boiled in Jack, but Alex's hand on his steadied it, empathy over anger. Mia's integration was a team effort, foster placement with a queer family vetted by the center, therapy sessions where she sketched her fears into dragon slang. Her story fueled a podcast series Alex produced, Notes of Resilience. Episodes featuring Eli's legacy, Jamie's art, Lena's motherhood. Listeners surged, donations poured, but trolls followed, hacking the site with slurs. Jack traced IPs to a hate group in the suburbs, raid netting servers and indictments. Victory tasted bittersweet, Mia's first smile at a center barbecue a bomb. Spring unfurled tentative, tulips pushing through mud, and personal joys bloomed. Jack and Alex fostering a litter of kittens, furballs tumbling like living metaphors for chaos tamed. Names chosen, Eli for the bold one, Harlan for the watchful. Nights filled with purrs and plans for their own path to parenthood, adoption papers in motion. But bureaucracy loomed, Home studies probing closets not just literal but emotional. Questions on stability amid public scrutiny. The home visit was clinical, social worker's notepad a judge's gavel. But Alex's warmth won her over. Tours of the nursery-to-be, walls splashed with murals of diverse families. Approval came, profiles reviewed, and months later, a match. Twins, 4-year-old boys from a disrupted placement, brothers inseparable. The first meeting was magic. Wide eyes, tentative hugs, Jack's heart cracking open wider. Daddies, the younger lisped, and tears pricked. Parenting crashed like waves, sleepless nights, tantrums echoing prejudices learned young. Why can't I have two moms like Mia? Conversations age inappropriate, but necessary. Jack's shifts adjusted, paternity leave a novelty in blue, but colleagues stepped up, Reyes babysitting with gruff tales. Alex thrived, channeling teacher instincts into bedtime stories of heroes like Eli, notes of love tucked under pillows. Summer heat baked the playgrounds, and conflicts reignited nationally. A Supreme Court challenge to marriage equality, whispers of reversal. Protests swelled, Jack testifying in D.C., voice amplified by Alex's networks. Strip rights, you orphan futures, he argued, twins' faces in mind. The ruling held, 5-4, relief palpable, but dissenters fanned flames, local ordinances cropping up like weeds. One hit home, a school board in Boys Town banning alternative family books, Jamie's illustrated children's tale, about two dads and a lost pup, pulled from shelves. Outrage boiled, petitions circulated, but the board chair, a silver-haired patriarch, defended it as protecting innocence. Jack and Alex rallied, town hall packed with parents like them, testimonies pouring. Lena on Alara's joy in diverse tales, Mia on representation's lifeline. The vote flipped, books reinstated, but the chair's glare lingered, a personal vendetta seated. Fall elections loomed, progressive challengers rising, and Jack campaigned quietly, door-knocking with Riley. A debate turned ugly, opponents slinging mud. Harlan soft on crime, too busy with parades. Jack countered calm. Crime thrives in hate. I fight both. Win narrow, reforms locked in, but exhaustion mounted. Jack collapsing post-victory party, flu morphing to pneumonia. Hospital vigil reversed. Alex pacing, twins drawing get-well cards with crayons. Recovery was humbling, bed rest forcing reflection. Alex's care a mirror to his own on that rainy night. You carry too much, Alex said, spooning soup. Jack chuckled weakly. Pot, kettle. Conversations deepened, boundaries redrawn, therapy joint, weekends unplugged. Winter arrived gentle, holidays with extended kin. Jamie and Lena's home cozy. Alara reciting Eli's note like poetry. Tommy sober and Uncle Ng with surprising tenderness. But a shadow fell. The twins' bio mom resurfaced. Rights asserted, custody battle igniting. Courtrooms chilled spines. Lawyers parsing love versus blood. Jack's badge irrelevant. They're ours, Alex whispered in hallways. Evidence mounted, stability reports, twin bonds assessed, and ruling favored them. But the scare scarred, trust in systems frayed. Spring 2029 healed, park picnics rebuilding, and a surprise. Lena pregnant again, boy this time, family swelling. Jamie's second show sold out, sculptures touring, Eli's words global. Jack's book deal landed, dashboard truths, a cop's reckoning with love, manuscript raw, proceeds to centers. Launch party intimate, Alex toasting. From tears to tomes, your heart's the real story. Summer festivals pulsed, pride a triumph, twins waving flags tiny hands gripped. Yet twist, Tommy proposed to his partner, a quiet librarian. Wedding small but Jack best man. Speech on second chances landing laughs and sniffles. Fall deepened, twins starting preschool, backpacks slung, Jack's lump in throat paternal pride. Winter closed with a nor'easter, power out, family huddled by generator light. Stories spun like Eli's note, tales of endurance. Jack held Alex, twins asleep between, knowing drama's arc. Conflicts crested, but love's plateau was vast, emotions the compass true. 2029's calendar flipped like pages in a well-worn journal, each month a chapter in the ongoing saga of lives entwined and tested. The twins, now 5, navigated kindergarten with the curiosity of explorers, their questions a daily gauntlet. "Daddy Jack, why do some kids say boys can't love boys?" Jack fielded them over breakfast, pancakes sticky with syrup, drawing from the well of experience. "Because some folks forget love's colorblind. But we remember, and we teach." Alex's podcast evolved into a nonprofit, Echoes Unwritten, amplifying voices from margins, trans elders recounting Stonewall echoes, by icons dismantling binaries. Funding flowed, but so did pushback, sponsors dropping after an episode on interfaith queer unions ruffled conservative feathers. Censorship by Wallet. Alex fumed, pacing the living room. Jack, fresh from a shift quelling a rally gone rowdy, pulled him down. "Then crowdfund louder. Your voice is wildfire." The fire spread when a donor scandal erupted. A foundation exec exposed for funneling funds to anti-LGBTQ lobbies while posing as ally. Alex's investigation, tipped by Riley's data dives, broke online, outrage viral. Protests at galas, boycotts biting, but threats resurfaced. Emails to the twins' school, vague warnings of consequences. Jack beefed security, cameras installed, but the invasion chafed. "Our home's not a fort," Alex protested. "Compromise, self-defense classes, family coded in unity." Spring unearthed buried roots when Eli's old journal surfaced, unearthed by his parents during an attic purge. Mailed to Alex, pages yellowed, entries a mosaic of young love's dawn. First glances at pride, fears of family fallout, dreams of Jamie Free. Reading aloud by lamplight, voices overlapping in harmony, the twins wide-eyed. "Uncle Eli sounds brave," the elder said. Alex nodded, tears glistening. Braver than words. The journals inspired a center archive, youth contributing their notes, a living testament. Summer scorched, lake beaches mobbed, and Jack's book tour kicked off. Readings in boisterous crowds. Q&As probing the cops' queer awakening. Backlash brewed. A radio host ambushing with gotchas. "So, Harlan, badge or bedroom? Which wins?" Jack's retort calm. "Both. Duty demands heart." Sales soared, but exhaustion shadowed. A minor car accident en route to Milwaukee leaving him bruised. Alex's worry of vice. Recovery overlapped with Lena's due date, labor induced amid monsoons. The boy arrived squalling, named Theo, Greek for God, a nod to Eli's faith in love divine. Hospital room a carnival. Twins cooing, Jamie snapping photos, Tommy awkwardly holding the bundle. "Fragile miracles," he muttered, eyes soft. Discharge brought chaos, diaper dashes, midnight feeds, but joy underpinned, family net-wide. Fall elections nationalized, a Senate race pitting ally against adversary, the latter's ads smearing queer families as undermining. Jack endorsed, stumped speeches with Alex, twins in tow waving signs. A debate climaxed in viral moment. Opponents sneering at alternative lifestyles, Jack countering. "Call it living authentically, something polls can't measure." Polls shifted, victory theirs, reforms federal now. But personal quake. The twin school play cast them as traditional family roles, sidelining diverse scripts. PDA uproar. Alex leading charge for inclusive curriculum, petitions signed. Board relented, play rewritten with rainbow threads. Opening night twins beaming in dual dad scenes. Pride swelled, but a whisper campaign targeted Alex. Anonymous claims of grooming at the center, rooted in Marcus's old cell block tales. Investigation cleared air, but toll mounted. Alex doubting impact, nights sleepless. Jack intervened, surprise weekend getaway to the cabin. No tech, just woods and whispers. "You're not the story's villain," Jack said by firelight. "You're the hero." Rekindling came in hikes and heart-to-hearts. Vulnerabilities voiced, bonds refortified. Winter bit hard, blizzards burying streets, and Reyes passed quietly. "Heart," they said, but really a life full. Funeral packed, eulogies from blue and rainbow alike, Jack's tribute. "He taught me duty's face is human." Graveside, snow falling like confetti, Alex squeezed his hand. "He saw you like I did." Spring 2030 green tentative, cherry trees defiant, An adoption finalized for a third. A girl, 6, from the system, named Sophia, Spanish for wisdom. Integration rocky. Nightmares of past placements. Questions sharp as shards. Will you send me away? Family therapy wove them in. Stories shared. Sophia's drawings adorning fridge. Stick figures in a home unbroken. Summer festivals thrummed. Pride evolved to Legacy March, honoring notes like Eli's. Jack emceed, voice booming. From dashboards to destinies. Love scripts the impossible. Twists. Tommy's wedding crashed by ex-associates. Brawl averted by Jack's quick cuffs. Forgiveness extended in after-party toasts. Fall harvested bounty. Jamie's mural commissioned for City Hall. Vibrant queer histories etched in tile. But storm. National health scare. A virus variant hitting marginalized hard. Centers overwhelmed. Jack coordinated vaccines. Alex triaging aid. Exhaustion a shared specter. A close call. Sophia feverish. ICU scare. Rallied them. Family fortress unyielding. Winter warmed with Theo's first Christmas. Toddling to tree. Alara directing carols. Reflections by Hearth. From a cop's glimpse to this chorus. Drama's highs and lows etched deep. Jack kissed Alex's temple. Every conflict, every climax, worth the plot. 2030's wheel turned. Seasons cycling like breaths in a long exhale. The household a symphony of small feet pattering and voices overlapping in multilingual melody. English laced with Sophia's Spanish phrases, the twins slang from schoolyard lore. Jack's captaincy steadied the precinct. Diversity hires swelling ranks, but national tempests raged. A landmark ruling on trans rights. Cheers drowned by protests. Counter-narratives framing equality as erosion. The family felt ripples when Mia, now college-bound, faced scholarship denial. Board citing fit code for bias. Alex lawyered up, Jack providing affidavits. Case climbing courts. Media frenzy. Headlines humanizing. From highway heartbreak to justice hallways. Victory at appeals. Funds restored. But Mia's words lingered. It's exhausting, always proving worth. Jack echoed in trainings. Don't make them beg for belonging. Summer solstice brought renewal. A center expansion. Groundbreaking with dignitaries and kids wielding gold shovels. Eli's plaque unveiled. Journals digitized for virtual vaults. But sabotage struck. Construction halted by permit disputes. Anonymous complaints alleging inappropriate content. Jack traced to a council holdout. The silver-haired chair from years back. Grudge evergreen. Confrontation in chambers. Jack's file thick with ethics violations. Retire gracefully, he advised. Resignation followed. Project greenlit. Fall foliage flamed. School years underway. And Jamie proposed to Lena amid leaves. Ring leaf-shaped. Twins flower girl and boy in tow. Wedding lakeside. Vows vowing through biases and blooms. Theo gurgling approval. Honeymoon gifted by family. Jack and Alex minding the brood. Chaos comedic. Sophia directing puppet shows of Eli's tale. Winter whispered warnings. Economic dip slashing center budgets. Layoffs looming. Alex fundraised fiercely, galas and grants. But stress creased his brow. Jack moonlighted security gigs. Badge off duty. But a client assault left him sidelined. Ribs cracked. Alex's vigil reversed. Soup simmering. Lectures light. Heroes rest too. Mending overlapped with holidays. Kin converging. Eli's parents doting on grandkids. Stories softening edges. Spring 2031 burst vibrant. Tulips triumphant. And a miracle. Alex's fertility quest, long sidelined, yielded positive. IVF success. Pregnancy confirmed. Ultrasounds revealed a boy. Due fall. Family erupting in joy tears. But risks shadowed. Alex's age. History of loss. Bedrest prescribed. Jack became house husband. Precinct delegated. Twins helping with baby brother boot camp. Summer sweltered support. Community meals delivered. Riley crashing with board games. Twists. Tommy's relapse scare. Averted by intervention. His "I owe you a sponsorship" vow. Fall harvest coincided with labor. Baby arriving early. NICU haze lifting to cries clear. Named Luca. Lightbringer. Completing the chorus. Postpartum haze cleared to clarity. Family photos framed. Notes from Eli tucked in cribs. National winds mounted. Equality acts passed. Protections ironclad. Jack's sequel penned. Twists of the Heart. Chronicles of Kin. Launch tour with Alex bundled. Twins signing copies with crayons. Winter wrapped gentle. Snow globe world. Reflections profound. From a cop's rain-slicked approach to this hearth's hubbub, life's narrative thrilled. Surprises in sibling squabbles. Conflicts in court's claws. Climaxes in courtroom cries. Prejudices peeled. Understandings unearthed. Love's depth unending. Yet drama endured. Sophia's coming out at 10, by curiosity budding. Family fate with flags and talks. Mia's graduation, speech saluting, notes that navigate. Jamie's exhibit global, Eli eternal. Tommy's union blessed, redemption rooted. A decade post-highway, Jack revisited the pull-off, Alex beside, kids tumbling in grass. Here it began. Jack said, notes facsimile in pocket. Alex smiled. And keeps beginning. Hands linked, horizons vast. The story, gay, tense, transformative, wrote on, hearts unbroken.